If you didn't, when you came in, if you didn't get one of these, please raise your hand, and we'll get somebody to get one to you. And or you can just get up and run out to the table. Angel's going to grab them. So this is just a sheet you're going to need in a little bit here. But I'm going to start this meeting the same way that I do every single time. This is the 5th time we've done this. I'm going to start it the same way. Our goal tonight is to update you on all the major happenings at the Ransom. That's what we're attempting to do tonight. We are not going to hit everything. We are not going to answer every single question. We are going to do our best to cover as many topics as possible. You're going to hear from many of our departments, and you're going to end up probably with some questions, and at the end we're going to open it up to those questions. You'll be able to write those questions down. As we get started tonight, I want to reintroduce our elder team and our staff, because I don't want to make the assumption that you even know who the leadership teams of our church are. So Ransom is staff-led, what we call staff-led and elder-protected. All that really means is our team of elders does not want, our local board, so to speak, does not want to sit around and argue over what color we're going to paint something or do this or that. I mean, they want to, the staff leads the day-to-day decisions of the church, but the elder protects us. They protect us from two things. They protect us from outside influence that might try to derail us, and they protect us from ourselves, quite honestly. And that protection from ourselves comes in the form of incredible accountability, and that's what they do. And so all of our elders meet the scriptural qualifications for leadership. We believe that they represent Ransom well across our campuses. They represent our people well. Our elder team meets every other month. They are not a local board. They are not an elected body. They do make some key decisions from time to time, but their sole purpose is that surrounding the staff with prayer, holding us accountable, giving wise direction and counsel. So I want to take you up to the screens here, and we're just going to go through the list as they put the pictures up here. So Shannon Barron. Shannon works for Esurance, and I think she's the vice queen of the world or something. I don't know what her title is. But Shannon is a great addition to our elder team. Shannon attends our Harrisburg campus. And then Jim Cook. Jim is in the room, I think. Yep, right back here. Jim is an engineer, agricultural engineer. And Jim, I always want to make sure I say that right. And Jim and his family we've known Jim and Megan for probably 15, 20 years. I don't even know how long. It's been about 15 years. 12 years? Okay, 12 years. But it feels like longer. It's so wonderful. It's so great. And Jim and Megan are good friends. Megan, Jim's wife, Megan, is on staff. She works for our spiritual formation department. So, and you'll meet her in a little bit. Kyla Briney lives out in T. Kyla is super mom and got 4 kids, and her husband sells drugs. He's a pharmaceutical rep. So Kyla's a great addition to our team. Aaron Imhoff serves as he's an elder, but he kind of serves as an unofficial trustee. We talk with him. He's a contractor by trade. He works for Avera Heart Hospital now, doing maintenance and stuff. And Aaron's just a great addition to the team. And then we have David Nissen, who's in the room. David's up front here. David currently drives bus for paratransit, and David has just been a wonderful and vital part of our team as well. David also attends Harrisburg campus. Andy Ott is on our elder team right now. He won't be soon because him and his wife are raising funds to be missionaries in Zambia. So if you see the T-shirts around I just want to drink coffee, take naps, and save orphans, that's these guys. So buy a T-shirt or buy a coffee mug or do something and support these guys. And they're going to do medical missions in Kitwe, Zambia. So Dawn Vandentop is our elder and chief note taker for our elder team, not by her choice. Dawn and Mike live in Rock Rapids, and Dawn makes a trip in all the time, and she's a great blessing to us. And then Jim Roddle, sitting right down front here. Jim is auto body specialties king, man. He's the dude. And how long have you been doing auto body specialties? 32 years. So for all your auto body needs, see Jim Roddle up front. So is that all the elders? Nope, we got a couple more. Oh, Colin. I almost forgot. Colin is an appraiser in town, and Colin has been a great addition to our team. When we grew a little bit, we added a few elders, and Colin's just really rounded out the opinions on that team well. So, All right, what do we got next? That's it. Okay, so that's going to take us into, there's so many, I just forget sometimes. That's going to take us into the staff. The thing I want to do, I've never done this before, is I want to go through the staff because I don't want to assume that you know the staff. I work with the staff every day. So we're going to go through their pictures quickly as well, and they're in this packet as well for you. That's me. That's all I have on that. Phil Wiseman he's done probably 6 different positions since he's been here, but he's currently Creative Arts Director. Phil is also part of our teaching team, and so you'll see him. I preach about 75% of the time. Phil and Will split the other 25%, so you'll see him preaching quite often, and he does a great job. And then we got Will, who is our spiritual formation director. So Will oversees everything from the time you walk in the door to the time you're fully integrated into a small group, and so that involves our connections team and the follow-up process and all of that, and then life groups and all that good stuff. So, and he's on the teaching team as well. Jason Muller is pastor of pastoral care, and he runs the Loop, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. But Jason maybe runs one of the most efficient hospital visitation teams I've ever seen anywhere. If your cousin's uncle's llama is at the vet, somebody will see him and take him a blanket. It's crazy. So, which it probably a llama blanket. I don't even know, but a saddle blanket, I suppose. But that's Jason. Cody Toops is our student ministries pastor, which is bigger than just youth. Cody oversees children's. He runs the youth currently, and he oversees our residency program, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about that in a little bit, and we're thankful to have Cody and Kristen on staff. And then we've got Pastor Wayne. Wayne is our Harrisburg campus pastor. He runs Compassion Ministry. We're going to be transitioning that, and I'm sure Wayne's going to talk a little bit about that in his report, but Harrisburg campus is doing great. Apparently had a great Sunday today, and we're excited about that. And God's blessed over there in Harrisburg, giving us a great presence, so we're excited about what God's doing there. Walt Pittman, I'm going to invite Walt up in just a second, and so if you haven't thought of any words, you think some right now. But I'm going to have Walt, just so you can put a name with a face and kind of, he can share his heart with you, but Walt is here. Walt is kind of Walt and Diana are in transition right now. They are on staff, but selling a home in California, and so Walt was here, and then he was gone for like a week and a half, and now he's back for about 2.5 weeks, and then he'll be back there. And hopefully, if you want to pray about anything, pray that their house will sell, so they can get moved up here permanently and just be here with us. Walt will be serving in the role of executive pastor, and when I call him up here, we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. Kevin Andrews, Connections Director. Kevin used to work for Target, and we stole him, and we're not sad at all. Kevin is incredible. He works with our guest services teams and a lot of our follow-up process. He's fantastic. That's right. That's my wife. Stephanie works for our creative arts department. She is the creative arts assistant, so she does pretty much what Phil Wiseman needs her to do and asks her to do, and she leads a lot of the sets that we do and things up front, and leads worship as well sometimes, and all that good stuff. So, Lissa Morosky is our operations manager. Basically, she is everything business, not business, excuse me, everything building is what I meant to say, and everything finance right now. And so she does all our day-to-day financial stuff. She's been helping. Some of that's going to transition to Walt, and we're in transition with that right now, but she does a lot of our financial stuff. And then the remodel, she headed up the remodel, and if you want to use the building, rent the building, and she'll come up here. She's going to give a financial report in a little bit and talk about the remodel as well a little bit, which is done. Yes. Phil Kosakowski is our tech director, so he makes things not go squeak and boom, and he makes it so that everybody can see, and everybody can see not only here but in other places, in Harrisburg, and at the ministry in the jail where they use video stuff and online. We have several hundred people a week that watch online, and so he's currently, he's always got a project we're working on. Obviously the remodel had some sound and video stuff, and then we're talking about some things out in the lobby in the future, so we're thankful for what he does for the creative arts department. Angel Metzger is our office manager, and basically she keeps us all from going crazy, and is just a huge blessing as far as she runs a team of I don't know how many volunteers. We call them the Keebler Elves because they come in at night and literally do a bunch of work, and it's done in the morning. And without that team, we wouldn't get it all done. And not only evenings during the week, but also Sunday mornings, like behind the scenes, there are people working in rooms at computer screens, entering data and doing different things that make everything run. And so we're thankful to Angel for heading that up. Megan, this is Jim Cook, our elder. This is Megan Cook. This is his wife, and Megan runs our prayer ministry, Restore ministry, which will talk a little bit about when he talks about spiritual formation, but she works for the spiritual formation, and she's also a spiritual formation admin. So, Mary Oster is just the office admin. She's the one who sits at the front desk. She's a friendly face that when you come in, and the friendly voice on the phone and everything in between. She's just awesome, incredible. So we're thankful for her. Claire Canold is the admin for the Student Ministries Department. She is currently 15 hours a week, started as a temporary thing, and man, she's incredible, and so Cody didn't let her go and talked her into more hours, and hopefully we'll talk her into more hours. And she's just incredible, but she's doing all the administrative stuff for the whole the whole Student Ministries Department. Natalie Wiseman. Natalie Wiseman has been doing children's ministry volunteer for a really long time. I'm excited to say we finally hired her. We finally got her to say yes. We interviewed a whole handful of candidates. Cody was thorough. He vetted the candidates. Natalie had to earn it just like anybody else would. And you know what? It didn't surprise us. She was the best candidate when we opened it up. And so we're thankful to have her on staff part-time, 20 hours a week, and that's starting April 1st. So, and now our residents, this is Cody Engel. Cody is Student Ministries resident, so he's with us as part of our residency program, which we'll hear more about later. He's here for 2 years, and we're excited to have him. He's from Indiana Wesleyan. Emily Lumpkin is our spiritual formation resident. She would be here 2 years, but she decided that getting married was somewhat important to her, and he proposed. So she's leaving in April, and we're going to miss her, but we're thankful for that. And then Ben Purcell. Ben is our creative arts resident. Ben is currently, you might not, if you've been at downtown campus for the last 3 months, you haven't seen him much because he's been leading worship out at Harrisburg for 3 months to give a consistent worship experience. Wayne will probably report a little more on how that's been going, what that looks like. And you'll get to hear about that later. But Ben's going to be transitioning back and learning the tech. And we're just trying to get him in all these different areas, because this is a learning and growing experience. And so Ben will be back around here soon, too. Him and his wife, Cody. Is that it on that? All right. So that is the staff. So hopefully you met somebody you didn't know, and you're like, oh, that's who that guy is. And we're excited at what God's doing on staff. Ransom, just to give you a snapshot of the Ransom. Ransom has had a relatively short history. Okay, this March we turned 6 years old. This March our Harrisburg campus turned 1 year old. But what God has done in 6 years is breathtaking. Okay, since the beginning of the Ransom, 805 people have made a first-time commitment to Christ. My heart is just so excited about that. But if that were all it was about, that would be impressive enough. That'd be like, awesome, God, you're doing cool things. But setting captives free is bigger than that, isn't it? And what we've discovered and what we've always said is that it's not that salvation doesn't matter, it matters so much, but setting captives free is bigger than that. And so if you look around the Ransom, what you're going to see everywhere is that there are stories of life change and transformation everywhere that you look. And so what tonight's going to be about is hearing a lot of those stories. As you hear the departments, please don't hear departmental reports. Hear the stories of life change. Hear the consistent pattern of the stories of life change, because these are all an answer to prayer. They're an answer to the prayers we've been praying. We started praying a long time ago, God, do something so big only you can get credit for it. And partly he's done that numerically, which is so cool, but the bigger part of that is in life transformation. Because see, you and I can't change a life. We can't change a heart. All we can do is share the truth. Christ changes hearts. And he's been working at the Ransom, and he's doing something so big that from our humble beginnings of 35 people in a movie theater, God had his hand upon the Ransom, and he has been blessing and protecting, and he's been holding us to our values of worship free and live free and serve free. so that we can set captives free to be who God made them to be. And so now we're at a place where we're averaging close to 1,600 a week across several locations, including our downtown campus, our Harrisburg campus, several nursing home sites, the jail, the county jail. He's creating world-changing partnerships with the lives of people not only in town, but around the world. Last year alone, we gave away over $150,000 outside our walls to local ministries, to missions around the world. We have seen people saved. We have seen people baptized. We've seen people called to ministry. A lot of people called to ministry. We've seen people called out of addiction and out of a history of abuse. We've seen people called out of a lifestyle of shame and now serving God in His kingdom. We've seen broken marriages restored and put back together. We've seen broken hearts made new. And we celebrate what God is doing here at the Ransom Church in setting captives free. But I want you to hear this tonight. I really believe this is just the beginning. I believe we are just getting started. God's vision for the Ransom Church is so much bigger. I believe we're going to see thousands saved. I believe that the Ransom Church is not going to just change a city. I believe we're going to change this region. I believe that we can have a lasting impact on our culture. I believe that we can leave the imprint of Christ wherever we go. And so we have visions in the future for things like a medical partnership in Zambia, in addition to our work with Poetis that will literally save hundreds and thousands of lives, and partnerships in Dominican Republic and in Mexico that are going to save hundreds and thousands of lives. I believe that I have a vision of multiple campuses across the region. Now, that's exciting. It also kind of makes me want to throw up a little. But God is doing incredible things. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than us. And I believe God's going to help us reach multiple places across the region. I have this vision of impacting our entire city in the way that we serve. Just having a watershed effect on this city in the way that we serve. I have visions of giving away not hundreds of thousands, but millions. To see the local church grow, to see the kingdom of God expanded around the world. And all of that is going to take a miracle, which is just fine because that's what God does. He does miracles. And I was wrestling with this and I was like, I want to share my heart, I want to share. But do you know what the biggest hurdle is going to be? Us. The biggest hurdle is going to be you and me. Because visions like this don't take one of us or two, they take all of us. They take everyone serving and everyone growing and everyone giving and everyone 100% invested. So if this thing is going to work, it's going to work because God moves and we get behind it. If this thing is going to fail, it's not on God. He didn't fail. It will be on us. So I want to invite you tonight to listen to what God is doing. I want you to celebrate the part. Think about the role that you play at the Ransom Church. Think about your life group. Think about where you serve. And I want you to celebrate the part that you play in what God is doing here. And if you don't, if you're not involved, I want you to ask, God, where would you have me get involved? And then I want you to brace yourself because I don't think you've seen anything yet. So one more time, let me pray for us, and we're going to turn it over to departments. So Heavenly Father, God, we are so excited about what you're doing at the Ransom Church. God, we can't believe what you've done in 6 short years. We're so thankful for who you are and how your love never fails. And now as we hear from the different departments of the church, as we hear reports about where things are going and how things are growing and how things are expanding, as we banter back and forth and we ask questions and we get to hear stories of life change, Lord, let this be more than information. Let this be a testimony of what you've done, a testimony of your faithfulness and your goodness, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so the first ministry person we're going to bring up here, first team person we're going to bring up here is actually Walt. And Walt probably, I don't know, I didn't give him a whole lot of time to prepare a long-winded speech or anything, but I just wanted you to be able to meet Walt, and Walt, you can just add your thoughts to this, but the number one question I get asked when we say, hey, we hired an executive pastor is, what in the world is an executive pastor? Like, what does that even mean? And I always say the same thing. That's a really good question. It depends on the church, and it's different. But the easy, the kind of simple answer of it is, take my job, cut it in half. Okay? As the church grows, there are certain things I just can't I can't do it all anymore. I can't do it. And so creating an executive pastor position is tailoring the other half of who I am. And so this relationship is very, very important. It's got to work well. And we spent a long, long time finding what we believe is the right person for this role. I'm excited that Walt's that guy. What an executive pastor is going to look like here is specifically three things. It's staff and staff development. Staff reviews, walking with them through different changes. It's vision implementation. As we dream about how do you unroll 3 sites or 2 campuses or whatever, how do you do that? It's a guy who can dream that dream with me and then actually start laying out the tracks, because I don't have time to lay out the tracks anymore, and guiding us down that, okay, if we're going to go there, we have to be on these tracks, and here's where everybody needs to be, and keep the train moving the right direction. And then just partnering with me in leadership development. And so that's what this is going to look like. So Walt, do you have anything you want to share, just as you kind of a greeting, or just to add on to those thoughts?
You did great. Thank you.
Yeah, right?
No, I really am very excited about being here. And, technically, I actually just flew in last night. And so I'm still getting used to the time change and what time the sun gets up and goes to bed and all that kind of fun stuff. But I really am excited. You're right. The executive pastor role does change from church to church. And I've got a couple word pictures that help some people. One of them for the music-oriented type people, the executive pastor is more of the orchestra conductor. I don't play an instrument, but what I'm trying to do is get everybody to play the same symphony, so we're all playing the same music, so we're all making wonderful music together, as opposed to playing different songs and then it becomes just noise. So that's one word picture for it. For the sports people out there, kind of more the general manager, I don't get on the field, I don't play the game per se, but I'm helping other people be successful. I'm helping the players be successful, the coaches be successful, to be able to put together all the pieces and parts at that point. So that, if you will, that's kind of the role that I'm here, and so that's the general picture, but the more specific picture is whatever he wants me to do. I mean, to make him successful, quite frankly. And that's really what I'm trying to accomplish. And I don't say that in jest. I say that in meaning, because this relationship is very, very important. I'm looking forward to being here. For some of you know, I've got kids in Minnesota, my kids and grandkids up in the Twin Cities, and so this puts us a lot closer. Certainly one of the big obstacles here right now is selling our home. And so certainly would appreciate your earnest prayer on that. The sooner we can do that, the sooner my wife Diane will be able to come out here. Because let's face it, those who have met her, she's the better half anyway. So, and she's going to see this video, so I want to make sure that stays in, please. Okay.
That's great. Well, thanks,
Right.
Walt.
Sure.
If you guys have any questions for Walt, Walt's just around all night, and just catch him afterwards, and he'd love to visit with you. He's here until April 6th, so if you want to set up a time to meet with him, you can catch him and set up a time, and he'd love to just share a little bit more of his heart about what he's going to be doing here. So on that note, we're going to invite Lissa Morosky up. Lissa, like I mentioned, some of the, Lissa's going to maintain day-to-day financial operation. Some of the bigger budgeting and those types of things Walt and I will do. Walt particularly will head that charge. But Lissa's going to give an update, and then Lissa, after that, if you just hand it off to Wayne, and we'll just go down the list, so I don't have to come up, and you can just hand it to the next person, and you can hear from what's going on financially.
Okay. So this is going to be a lot of numbers. I put them up on the screen, so you'll be able to see them as I'm saying them. But if you do have any questions, or you would like this document, you can just let us know, and I'll be happy to email or send any of this information out also. So just to recap our annual budget, well, first of all, our fiscal year runs May 1st, 2014 to April 30th of 2015. So that is what I'm reporting on for that fiscal year. You can see our all-campus annual budget is $1,670,602, and that makes our all-campus weekly need $32,127. I broke this year, since we're getting close to the end of our fiscal year, I broke it up into quarters for you, so you can see kind of the way that giving typically is lower in the first quarter and increases up to the end of quarter 4. So we can go to the first quarter. I have it broken down into campuses. We have downtown campus first quarter had a total of $300,860 in tithes and offerings. Harrisburg had $28,043, makes it the total of $328,903. And that at that point we were averaging per week $25,300. Quarter 2 takes us at downtown had $313,852 in tithes and offerings. Harrisburg $32,783, which made our total $346,635. And our average for quarter 2 was $26,664. Quarter 3, downtown $353,340. Harrisburg $32,341, which made our total tithes and offerings at $385,681, which made our average $29,668. Which brings us to quarter 4. We're 7 weeks into quarter 4. And downtown so far has brought in $168,094 in tithes and offerings. Harrisburg is $25,131. And so our total so far this quarter is $193,226. So you can see that we are right on track to have a great ending to the year. And that puts our average at $31,606. So if we wrap that up into the total 46 weeks that we've had so far this fiscal year, downtown has had a total of $1,146,145 in tithes and offerings. Harrisburg has had the total of $118,297, which makes our all-campus total, you can see, $1,264,442, and we're averaging for the full year $27,488 per week. So with the building campaign, our savings account we used a lot of our savings to finish the project, but we have slowly started rebuilding. We were down to almost $2,000 in our savings just as recently as just a couple weeks ago. But again, God is good and continues to bless us and show his hand in everything that we do. And so we have had the ability to be able to already save and have gotten our savings account up to $8,570. And then we have a Wesleyan Investment Foundation savings account, which as our First Premier Bank savings account increases, we end up moving some of that savings into the Wesleyan Investment Foundation savings, and that interest rate is a little bit better in order to have that savings there. So $1,392 is in that account right now. So how are we doing with our income versus our expenses? So I broke it down for us. The central office, the expenses included in this is all of our salaries for both campuses, general operational costs, all of that kind of stuff. So the central office has spent $926,007. Downtown campus is $282,537, and Harrisburg expenses have been $33,479. So you can see our total year expenses. So we are about $20,000 under, approximately, our tithes and offerings versus our expenses. Okay, so there's a couple things that we have promised with our financial. So as we are spending and taking in money, we have two promises that we always stand behind. And one is that we will always give a minimum of 10% out of our tithes and offerings to Compassions ministries. That would include global ministries, local ministries, any of that stuff. So our year to date, we have given $122,676. So we're really close to that 10% tithe, and that is something that I definitely keep my eye on every month, so that we're not stuck at the end of the year trying to give that, with a huge amount at the end of the year, saying we got to stay with our 10%. So we're really close on that. And then the other thing that we promise is that we will always give away more money than we spend on our building for mortgage and rentals. And so you can see this year so far, our downtown mortgage, we've paid $45,252. Our central office rental this year has been $23,500, and our Harrisburg rental is $17,200. So our total is $85,952 is how much we've spent with the facilities, which is well below what we've given away so far for compassions. And then just a quick update, the downtown building downstairs renovation and the addition on the back, we are complete and finished. And so the original Jan's bid was $1,630,000, and we ended at $1,604,385. So we were under budget, $25,615. We do have an outstanding balance as of today still of $28,070, and God again has shown himself several times in this whole construction process. We thought we were done getting invoices, ended up getting another invoice that we weren't expecting, and it was another $80,000, and we were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for this? And God just, has shown himself crazy through the situation and just continues to magically appear money, which is just fantastic. And it's all because of him. We couldn't do it without just leaning on God, and being human, sometimes that's not always easy to have that faith. So that $28,770 I anticipate will be paid off here in the next couple months, and then we will be debt-free to Jan's. And then the only debt that we will carry as a church is going to be our mortgages. And then you can just see some of the other. Okay, this was a breakdown of what we spent on the project. The WIF, or Wesleyan Investment Foundation, is who we get our loan from, and we borrowed $1.2 million. And we fundraised $400,000 through the church and our congregation, and we also paid $67,642 just out of our general budget. And so our total project cost was $1,667,642. And that is the financial situation. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to grab me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and we will pass it off to Wayne.
Well, good. It's good to be here again this evening. For many of you, I see a few strange faces out here that I don't know. As Pastor Phil introduced us earlier, I'm the campus pastor up in Harrisburg. This is my wife, Teresa, back here in this 5th row back. If you haven't met, she's the one with the pretty blue eyes. But anyway, for those of you who have not met, hi, it's nice to meet you. And for those of us we've met, it's good to see you again. We have been in the Harrisburg campus now. It's been 1 year exactly. 1 year exactly, and on March 2nd we had our 1 year anniversary. And it's been really quite a fantastic thing that God's doing. I think when we met here last year, we were probably about 6 months ago, and we averaged the first 6 months of the year probably between 115, 120 people per service per weekend, and that's been fantastic. But since this year, January, February, our averages are going up. We're averaging now around 134, 135, up to 140 here in January and February, so it's really starting to grow. And the other cool thing attendance is one of those ways you measure things. So the other cool thing that's happening is that a lot of the attenders now, we've tipped the scale of, obviously, the folks who came from the original campus here. We've tipped that scale quite a bit, where most of the attenders now the majority are new people who hadn't attended Ransom before. So that's really, really exciting. So that's the attendance thing. So I want to just cover a couple of things that we planned in March, and the growth's been good, but the things that are kind of intangible for those of us who don't attend there, the things that are going on at the Harrisburg campus from a community standpoint. In our setup crew, for example, we weren't there this morning. Teresa and I just flew back in from Dominican this morning, but we had one of our largest Sundays, so I don't know if I'm supposed to stay away or not, but we had a great Sunday, and But the cool thing was I was in contact with the team before we were setting up, and it was just to hear that the amount of people that show up to set up. We're still setting up every Sunday and tearing down every Sunday. And I've talked to other campuses and even some of the folks that built and set up and tearing down here from the beginning. And some would say, "Oh, it's going to get old," and some would say people are going to get bored with that. But really, that's been the coolest thing. That's been so exciting to watch the team stay together and be cohesive, and be excited about going there and setting up and tearing down every Sunday. It's really, really cool. And let's create this community within the community. And that part of the community is growing as well as new people come in and new people start to serve in Ransom by setting up and tearing down. It's been really, really a cool thing that I didn't expect to happen as well as it has. So that's been really, really neat. The amount of people serving obviously is a big marker as well of I think health. More and more people are getting involved in kids ministry. More and more people are getting involved in all the guest service areas. Every area that we serve here at the downtown campus, it happens obviously at Harrisburg campus as well. So the volunteerism is high right now. Our kids ministry, it's just crazy. I think I mentioned this last time, but it seems like every week there's more kids than there should be for the amount of people we have. I suggested last year, I think people drop their kids off and go for coffee because there seems to be more kids than parents, but it's really, really awesome. And Shannon and the crew there have done a fantastic job of just having a great kids ministry. One of the other things that's so cool is that Teresa and I spent the last probably 6 months especially trying to make sure we visit a lot of the families that come to the church, a lot of the visit. And the thing that I hear over and over again, I always ask the question, what did you like, what did you see, what did you not see, what did you experience, what do you feel when you walk into the Harrisburg campus? And the number one thing they say is the friendliness and the how well they're treated when they come in. But the second, a close second, if not first, is the Ransom kids. And our parents are saying our kids are coming home, they're excited, they want to go back to church. Our kids are coming home challenging us with scriptures, challenging us with things they're learning, and it's causing us to have to open our Bibles and get involved in scriptures. So it's just really, really cool. And I think it's what the Ransom is really what it's all about, is this whole thing of holistic, reaching the whole family for Christ. And it's happening in Harrisburg campus as well. So we're excited about that. Pastor Phil mentioned Ben's been out with leading the worship team. It's been fantastic as well. The support we've been getting from it's one church, two locations. So we've been getting great support from here from a worship perspective. We have teams rolling through. If you haven't attended, there's worship teams roll through every week where we'll have a leader, and we're growing now to the point where we have 2 or 3 people who are regularly Harrisburg attenders who play in the worship team. But the past couple of months, Ben's been out there leading worship, and it's just made a huge, huge difference to have the worship leadership being constant. And there's something about that building cohesiveness in the worship experience, to have the same person there each week and developing this worship culture where people know what to expect, and there's a sense that the team is way more cohesive and the team is drawing people in. So Ben's done a super job of that. And one of the areas that we are budgeting for in the next budget years, we plan to hire a worship pastor. So that's going to be just a great addition, worship/associate pastor. It's going to be a great addition to the team out there. So I don't know, overall things at the Harrisburg campus are it's healthy and it's exciting. Probably 6 months ago I would have felt it's not growing fast enough, because you tend to compare yourself to other things, you tend to compare yourself to other situations. But it's really, really crazily unique, and it's growing just at a nice pace. It's not growing like this. It's kind of growing like this, and there's a depth of what's going on at Harrisburg, which is really, really cool. From a community perspective, people in the community are beginning to know that we're there now. Teresa and I are getting to be well known in the community as the Ransom Harrisburg campus pastors, and we're involved in the Chamber of Commerce. We're involved in the community in a number of ways. So we're starting to get recognized, and people are seeing us as a community church, and begin to reach out. So it's exciting to see what's happening, and so appreciate the support and the prayers. If you're still looking for a church, Harrisburg is just 10 miles down the road. Okay, so we're still accepting any and all comers. So please come out and check it. Even if let me just say this: even if you're if you haven't been out yet and you attend here regularly, please keep doing that. But come on down and check us out and just support what's going on down there. But it's exciting what's going on, and we're just so pumped to see what God's doing. The other part of my role here at Ransom is the compassion ministry, which includes the outreach kind of thing. I guess in some churches it would include more we call the outreach or service-oriented stuff. At the Ransom Church, as you know, if you've been around long enough, serving is a big part of what we do here. And the cool thing about the things that are happening as we serve, as you've all experienced, if you've served in any way, is that that seems to be when we grow. Jesus came not to be served, but to serve. And everybody in this room probably is a part of serving in some way or another. So you'll see as we grow, then obviously we need more and more opportunities for people to get involved and in serving the community and serving in the church. So you'll see that grow as well. But I want to touch on just 2 or 3 things that we're currently doing. Some of you are familiar with, for example, the closet ministry. That has been one of those, I think, ministries that it's morphed and it's changed. If you step downstairs now, since the downstairs is finished, and walk into the closet room, it's way back in the back corner here. You'll see it's well organized. It's ready to serve. It literally looks like a shopping center down there now. So we've got some volunteers who are doing a super job of that. The next closet ministry, if you're not familiar with the closet, we open these doors up, and we'll do it downstairs. This next one on the early April. I think it's April 7th. The next one, we'll open up. What's that? 11th. Thank you. April 11th. Thank you. We'll open the doors and we'll let the community in for those who are in need of clothing, and they'll come in. It'll be all downstairs now, and then we'll literally have shopping assistants with them. We'll take folks in and find what their needs are, and take them through the shopping center and let them take home the clothes they need for their families. So it's an exciting ministry. Please, if that's an area that you'd love to serve in, we can use all kinds of help that day and days in between. We do closet sorting. That goes on constantly, a couple of times a month. So once the event is over on the 11th, we'll be revamping and restocking and resorting and rehanging and all that stuff. So we'll need all kinds of help for that too. So that's an awesome ministry. We're being way more intentional about actually meeting with the folks as they come in and actually trying to serve the people, not just clothes, but literally speak to their hearts and literally try to have a human touch rather than just filling a bag with clothes. So that's been has had a great impact, and people are enjoying that as well. Things like the turkey giveaway, that'll be scheduled again in the fall. That's always been a great outreach. Everybody loves the turkey giveaway for some crazy reason. We go out and we give out 1,300, 1,400, 1,500 turkeys to families in need, and people love it. You guys all love it, and it is a great super outreach. And we'll be doing that, I suspect, again this year with a few changes. Each year we do something. You always learn, and you try to make the changes that you can make in order to make it better and to serve more people in a better way. And that's the turkey giveaway. Things like the banquet. If you're not familiar with the banquet, it's where we serve. This banquet's an organization that we try to work with. They around the corner here. Most of you are familiar with that. But we serve at the banquet 2 or 3 times a year. And the whole goal of serving at any of these places, actually outside the church, is that perhaps people will begin to serve there as a church, and you'll get the heart that you want to help this ministry out. We don't try to duplicate necessarily what's going on in the community already. Why, if something's being done, we'd rather join with them rather than create something new. So maybe what'll happen if you'll come serve the ministry at the banquet, and you'll love it, and you'll go on your own and serve there yourself. So there's all kinds of opportunities to serve in the community. One thing about Sioux Falls, there's a number of places that you can plug in and serve those in need. And the banquet's certainly one of those. So the banquet, turkey giveaway, closet. Things like Hawthorne Elementary, we've kind of taken the Hawthorne Elementary School and kind of adopted that school as a church and kind of become a little bit like their PTA. So we do things like during the conferences, the school conferences, we'll go in there and supply meals for them and those kinds of things. Now there are a number of things that like big events like the turkey giveaway, big events like the closet. And there's other smaller events that involve smaller amounts of people, like Hawthorne, for example. We'll continue to do those things, and we'll continue to add more things. But as time goes on, we'll have primary things that we do, large events, and secondary things we do, which are smaller events, and of course are events that we do inside the church. So the Hawthorne School will be one of those things that's not a primary serving event, but it's probably a secondary, which means it's smaller numbers of people, but still very, very, very valuable to that school, to that community. Every time we go and serve there, the teachers are overwhelmed by the love that they receive through that day, but also through the connection they've made through life groups and through the cards you sent and through the support you've given the teachers. So it's just a crazy when we get into serve like that, God does some really cool things, and some really deep relationships are formed. So I think that's what Jesus wants from all this. So our Live to Serve event, which was formerly our Love Sioux Falls event, that's becoming more and more familiar to most of you, most likely. That's coming up here at the end of this month on the 28th on a Saturday. We'll have a a large number of people going out and serving here in Sioux Falls and in Harrisburg as well. We're excited about that. It's again, I think it's the second or third one we've done, or second one we've done? Third one. It's the third one we've done, and it's grown as well as we go out there and serve. And each year that we try to begin to organize this, we'll begin to see more and more of these community people who want us to go and serve. There's all kinds of opportunities, there's all kinds of need, and all kinds of opportunity for you to serve as well. So that'll be one of the things that's one of those large events that will continue to grow and change things. So just a couple of things I want to mention are our two main missionaries we support, Casas por Cristo, Justin Kirkland. We just got back from Dominican actually just today. We had a team of 19 that went down there. They're one of the ministries that we support well financially and with teams. And the cool thing about this, the Casas por Cristo, this trip was fantastic. It was we had a team of 19. It was a first build in Dominican, a little different culture than in Mexico. We also built in Juarez, Mexico. Most of you are familiar with that. But it's a little different culture, definitely hotter. I sweat a lot more, but it was great. We had a team of 10, and the unusual thing about this one, I think, compared to other builds I've been on, every day there was between 25 and 30 people pulling up lawn chairs and just watching what these crazy Christians were doing, to watching what we're doing, because they could not believe. And of course, this idea of this ministry build, that culminates in the dedication day. And the dedication day is when we get together and we dedicate the home. And this dedication service went for an hour and a half. And with the local pastors there, they kind of lead it. And the new owner of the home, she gets her keys, and she gets a chance to speak at the end. And by that time, we've developed a relationship with her. She's been around all week and helping. And when she shared her heart, it was overwhelming. She said, she had 12 kids. Her husband had been killed this year, husband of at least 9 of those kids. And she said, for 10 years, we've been trying to get a home politically. And she said, God gave us a home in 3 days. And these are not believers, but she's not yet. But it's just a crazy, again, it's one of those things when you begin to serve and you begin to serve God with God's heart, God just does stuff, and does stuff in us and does stuff in the ones who are receiving as well. So it's a great ministry. Casas por Cristo is, and Justin down in Dominican, it's going to have a huge impact in that community. I can just sense they've done a great job preparing, but you can just sense the people and the pastors there are ready to use this as a tool to reach people. And one of the challenges there is that the pastors don't have any resources, they don't have any money, they don't have anything to give to the people. So this Casas por Cristo has given the pastors something to offer to the people that's tangible, that they can touch and feel and literally live in. So the church is going to be empowered by it. So it's just a great it's a great ministry and great potential. And then of course Poetas International, Pastor Phil can probably touch more on that a little bit later. He and Phil, Pastor Phil Tagg, have been involved a lot. I haven't gone on those trips myself, but that's in Zambia. There's a trip going in November, is that correct, Phil, in November? And there's information available for that as well. So those are the two main ministries that we outside the church that we support internationally, is Casas and Poetas. And the last thing I want to mention is our Safe Families for Children ministry. The last time we had this meeting, we were only probably 6 months old at that time. We're probably a little more than a year old now in Safe Families for Children. That is one of those ministries as well that it has a real, of course, human touch to it. And it's been amazing to watch what God is doing, not only in the people we're ministering to, but in the families that are getting involved in ministering to these kids. If you're unfamiliar with Safe Families for Children, it's literally it's a movement of churches literally celebrating what it means to deliver hospitality, biblical hospitality. And we're intervening in homes and families where moms, for example, who were on their last opportunity, but they could be in a situation where they're in a crisis where I got nowhere to send my kids. I need to go into this. I may be going to jail. I may be going to the hospital. If I don't have somewhere to put my kids, I'm going to lose them. And Safe Families, the church literally steps in and takes care of those kiddos and takes care of gets this family through this crisis, and then builds a relationship with them after. Now that sounds really simplistic, but the power of pouring love into a family like that, pouring love into a family that can't do anything for you in return, is incredible. And the change that's made in the host families, the change that's made in us as a church, and the change that's made in the people who support Safe Families is really, you need to talk to some of the host families and just see how God is using that. The host families, the families themselves we're ministering to, they're being absolutely loved on and supported for the first time, some of them in their lives. And the testimonies coming out of that ministry are fantastic. We were the first church in Sioux Falls to begin Safe Families for Children. Now we have 6 churches in the community that are involved. We're all working together. That's the other beautiful thing about Safe Families. It's not a Ransom ministry. It's a church ministry, and there's 6 churches now involved in Sioux Falls, and it's growing. And there's a lot of interest being shown because the word's getting out. People are starting to recognize the name Safe Families for Children, and because of the need and because of the opportunities to serve, it's going to grow like crazy. So that is all I want to share tonight. I just want to thank you so much for the support you've given us and me, and keep praying for our campus. Keep praying for the various outreaches we do, various compassion stuff that we do, and also keep praying as we reach out in the community as the church grows. Part of the culture of Ransom is this whole idea of serving. So as we reach out, we don't want to serve just for the sake of serving. We want to serve in the right places in the right ways, and serve places that need us, serve places that can serve God the best, and serve places that will impact us as we grow as believers in Christ. So if you'd pray for that whole gamut, that'd be fantastic. So thank you so much. I'm not sure who's next, but who's next?
All right, thanks, Wayne. Wayne gets extra time because he's reporting on 2 ministries there. Phil Wiseman's going to come talk about our creative arts department, and then from there, here, if I move this stuff, you can see the list. How's that? Sure. There you go. Thanks, buddy.
All right, so Will, you're on deck. Okay. Hey, everybody. Listen, the funny thing about the worship ministry is that, honestly, if you come to church, you're pretty well apprised as far as what we do. So there's not a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that you maybe don't know about in our department, other than, for instance, the Journey to the Cross that we've been talking about the last few weeks in church. Hope you come on Easter weekend and join us in that event. It'll be really powerful. But I just want to say what an incredible privilege it is to lead worship here at the Ransom. We have these in-ear monitors that we use so we can hear ourselves. You might notice that I've got these things in my ears when I'm singing. I almost always end up taking one of them out because I just love to hear you guys sing, and it's just an incredible privilege. I wish everybody could have it. I wish everybody could just come up here and hear it, because it's just glorious, and it's what heaven's going to be like. And so thanks for allowing me to do that. I couldn't do it without my incredible staff, of course. Steph Tagg is the creative arts assistant, and she oversees the set designs. That's only a small fraction of what she does, but she sings and she leads worship for us as well. She's like omnipresent in all things related to the creative arts department. She does things I don't even know of. She thinks of things I didn't even realize were important. All these sorts of things. Phil Kozakowski is our tech director, and he'll usually come into my office and give me an update on things, and I'll just smile and nod and have absolutely no clue of what he's saying. For example, we are right now in the process of installing an SDI video router matrix that is going to allow us to distribute video throughout this building from multiple sources. Okay, cool. No, actually, it's a huge improvement, because what it's going to allow us to do is, for instance, have overflow seating somewhere in the building so that we don't have to turn people away second service when it maxes out in here. We've had to do that a few times, and of course, that's the last thing we want to be doing. So that's one of the big improvements coming up. You may notice there's these TV screens hanging up here. They haven't been on lately, but the reason they're there is so that these people on the side can see what's going on the screen, but we had some power issues, so we're getting some circuits done and stuff like that. Phil's been overseeing all that stuff. He's been a busy guy lately. Technology breaks. That's pretty much our mantra. And so anytime it breaks, it's kind of his job to make it work again. I do not envy that job at all, but I'm sure glad that he's got it. So our challenge lately has just been maintaining quality as we expand our ministry. We're starting Saturday night services. We've got a campus in Harrisburg. I mean, how in the world do we keep our bar of musical excellence, of worship excellence up here, while at the same time expanding and growing the ministry? God's just been incredible. I set a goal to myself that before Saturday night services start, I want to recruit a new person, at least one new person in every single area of the worship team, and we've surpassed that goal already. The last 3 weeks in a row, you've seen multiple new people up here that has been their first time. Today we had a fellow who was his first time playing electric guitar, and it's just incredible to see God bringing. As soon as we start praying for it, God starts bringing it, and I'm so excited for that. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention that Wayne actually touched on quite a bit that has a huge bearing on our department is just our Harrisburg campus. Ever since we started it a year ago, we've been kind of rotating musicians through both campuses. We've been essentially staffing 2 campuses, and it's a big challenge. You know, every week that means it's not just one praise team, it's 2 praise teams, it's 2 drummers, 2 electric players, two bass players, 2 keyboardists, everything that we need. But they've been incredible, and people are happy to do it. The big thing that I'm excited about, though, is that we're going to hire somebody to lead worship out there full-time. I think that campus is really going to benefit from it. We've already seen it happen, and having been out there on a consistent basis, it's just been a wonderful thing for Harrisburg. It's been a wonderful thing for Ben. It's been a wonderful thing for me because now I get to be down here more. So we're thankful that Ben was willing to do that. So I'd say those are some of the biggest things we got going on. One thing I'll mention is Saturday night service is coming up. Obviously, that's a big deal for us in the worship ministry. It's a big deal for everybody, every department. But the plan is to have 2 separate worship teams Saturday night and Sunday morning. So you will not see the same people Saturday night and the same people Sunday morning. I just believe strongly God says take a day of rest. At the Ransom, we take Fridays off. Most of you don't get to take Fridays off. Saturday's your day off. And so I'm just not going to ask people to be giving hours here Saturday night and Sunday morning. And like I said, God's been bringing the musicians, so I'm not even really worried about it at this point. We're going to have enough, and it's going to be awesome. So praise the Lord. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Whoa. Well, greetings from Spiritual Formation, and just by way of introduction, Spiritual Formation is one of those nice words that we kind of get to lump a lot of things together under. It also changes church to church. So Spiritual Formation at the Ransom, I love the way that Pastor Phil started out describing it. We really view our job as integrating people into what it means to be a part of the Ransom and part of this family of faith from the moment they set foot in our parking lot all the way up until they are worshiping free, living free, and serving free in individual ministrators and in life groups. So that's kind of the role that I get to oversee, and I've got a tremendous group of people around me that help me with that. Megan Cook is the spiritual formation assistant. She's also the director of our prayer ministries, and so she handles those aspects within us. Kevin Andrews, as Phil said, is our connections director. He oversees guest services and a lot of our connections processes. Excuse me. And also Emily Lumpkin is our spiritual formation resident, and she's been stepping up and doing a bunch of different things. We don't quite know what we're going to do without her here in the upcoming weeks with the summer coming, but we're excited for her role and her transition. So within that broader role of how we move people along in spiritual formation, forming them into Christ, we kind of break it up into 3 large categories, or at least I do, so that I can keep myself sane. We have prayer, and we have connections, and then we have life groups. So those are the 3 umbrellas kind of by which we break things up, and so I'll talk about each of those individually. And the first part that we'll talk about is prayer. A couple of changes that have happened within prayer team is that we used to have one prayer team that met at 8 a.m. They would pray over the chairs in the warehouse and then pray once before our services. Since Megan's kind of stepped into being able to give that a little bit more time and focus, we now are enabling people to pray 15 minutes before any service to be meeting in the prayer room right up here. So if you're interested in prayer, that's an opportunity for you to be involved in a volunteer team to meet 15 minutes before service and pray. We still have people who come at 8 o'clock and pray over all the chairs, and then 8:15, 8:15, 9:45 and 11:15. Sorry, I got to do math. That's hard. We all meet in the prayer room and get those opportunities. Megan oversees those opportunities and looking for some leadership there. But that's a real change that we just felt like we didn't want to have any service that wasn't covered with an opportunity for people to be involved in prayer. We anticipate that growing as we move to Saturday. Also, Megan oversees, and the prayer team oversees, the development of our prayer calendar. Many of you get that. It's at the hub. If you don't get it, we also do email out prayer requests to people who are a member member of our prayer teams. She also handles our Facebook updates for prayers and those kind of things. So all of that to say that when I say on stage on the hub that we will pray for you throughout the week, you guys get covered in a multitude of ways. And if you'd like to be a part of that, both just personally for your own private devotions as somebody who's involved in this local church, there are a plethora of ways for you to be involved. Or if you'd like to serve in those ministry capacities, there are absolutely ways for you to get plugged in. And those are just a few of them that I've labeled. Talk to Megan or write a note on your hub if you'd like to hear about more. The other thing that is obviously big in prayer ministry right now is our Restore ministry. Restore is a restorative prayer ministry where people have the opportunity to come and receive inner healing for things that happened in their life, to just invite Christ into some areas of either woundedness or brokenness or just what goes on through the course of life. We think this is kind of a fundamental prayer discipline for all Christians to experience, and so we've really just been kind of letting God open up doors for how Restore Ministry can serve us as a local church. And so to date this year, we've had over 80 sessions in which people have participated in. We celebrate that, and I've got a couple stories. Just we ask for people to say, hey, after your session, just tell us a little bit about what you experienced. Sessions happen typically on Sunday nights. They're about 3-hour prayer sessions that meet with a team of people, focused again on inviting Christ into people's lives and showing them a new level of wholeness. And so I just want you to hear a couple of testimonials from people that have been through it. Here's one. I've learned that what I used to think were the normal ups and downs of life, specifically emotional battles and anxiety, are opportunities to yield myself over to God's power. That's just a fantastic testimony of what somebody's learned. I love this next one. I feel like a completely different person since doing my first session. I've been made new. I've gained complete freedom from things I thought were just a part of who I was and that I would always have to battle and deal with. Ransom Restore not only helps you gain freedom and victory, it also equips you to continue on the path to becoming a more whole and restored person. So that's just a tiny snapshot. I'm not going to go into detail over all of the philosophical things behind Ransom Restore, but needless to say, if you're interested in learning more about that, either for yourself or if you'd like to learn more about the ministry, whether from a volunteer aspect or again from a participant aspect, I would encourage you to do that. You can reach Megan by email. She's usually out at the hub on Sunday mornings. We'd love to just connect you, tell you a little bit more about that ministry. But those are some of the major happenings within prayer, and I'm very, very grateful for Megan to be overseeing that. Megan actually couldn't be here tonight because she's just returning from a research trip. She went out and got to meet with an author of a couple of the books that we practice and follow with, and so she was out having some personal training on this very subject, and so we're excited to see what she gleaned. So that's prayer. Connections is kind of the broad word that we use for, again, connecting people into the church. This has a lot to do with our guests. It is guest services. It's also things like baptism and membership and those kind of things. And so I've got some numbers here, but I want to just preface the numbers by saying this, that we count numbers, we count people because people count, right? And so each of these numbers, each of the stats that I'm going to share is tied to a direct story, is tied to a direct name. And there was a time 3 years ago when I started when I probably would have known a lot of those names, and I probably would have known a lot of those stories. And let me tell you why it's a good thing that I don't now. What God has enabled to happen is not only do we have a fantastic team of staff now who gets to meet with these people who are new and connect them, we also are having increasing amounts of volunteers, of you guys actually, who know these stories. And so the numbers that I represent, you probably don't know all of them. I don't know all of them either. I would venture to say that Kevin and Megan and Emily and our department doesn't know all of them either. But between the collective of what's going on here at the Ransom, somebody knows them. Somebody knows their name. Somebody knows their story. Somebody sat down with them for a cup of coffee. Somebody's opened the door. Somebody's handed them a hub. Somebody sat down with them at the tour and has connected them a little bit deeper into what it means to be a part at the Ransom. And I'm just tremendously blessed and honored to be able to not know all these names anymore, but to say that most of you guys probably do. Most of you guys probably know one name in here. And I think that's a real sign and real trajectory of what God's been doing. So with that said, here's just some numbers. These are basically from November to March. We had some things shift in our tracking system, so I just want to give you a snapshot. We're not counting where people stop when they come to the Ransom. We're trying to measure how people move into spiritual formation, how they grow through and in spite of the Ransom all the way up through life groups. So I just want to tell you a little story here. So new guests, November to March, we had 201 new guests come to the Ransom. 187 downtown campus, 14 at Harrisburg in that November to March period. Of those new guests, or not of those new guests, but commitments to Christ, we had 94 new commitments to Christ in that same period, 56 recommitments, which means that out of 200 new guests, we're not assuming that they all make first-time commitments, but 47% is about the relationship of people who are coming, who are new to church, a lot of them new to the faith, a lot of them never maybe been to a church before in their life, and they're making new first-time commitments to Christ at a rate of almost 50%. And again, those numbers are only slightly misleading, but they're really, really encouraging as far as who we see coming in. Of the people who make a first-time commitment to Christ, we know that we had one baptism in that time. 28 people were baptized, which means that about 30% of people who make a first-time commitment to Christ here at the Ransom get baptized here at the Ransom. And those numbers are even low because our next baptism service is coming up at the end of this month, so we anticipate that correlation to increase. The tour, we had 81 guests at the tour at the last 4 events with an average of 20, average attendance of 20 at each event, which means that 40% of people who come to the Ransom as a new guest end up at the tour. So we're, again, trying to measure how effective the tour is, how effective things are. So 40% of the people who come to the Ransom as a first-time guest and fill out a hub, so we know they're a first-time guest, show up at the tour. Now, of those people that show up to the tour, 34 of them, or 42%, end up in a life group, which means that the purpose of the tour is to say, hey, this is who we are as the Ransom. If you want to be a part, get in a life group, get involved in serving. 42% of people who are a new guest come to the tour and get connected with a life group. We count that as a win. And 35% of people who attend the tour end up serving in a ministry area at the Ransom Church. So what we're tracking here, again, is that when people walk through our doors, when they come in as a new guest, what are they doing? Well, they're experiencing Christ. They're getting the opportunity to enter into a life-giving relationship with Christ. They're getting the opportunity to be baptized. They're also getting the opportunity to be invited into what it means to be a part at the Ransom Church, to be in a life group, to live free of sin, and to serve free of self. So that's just a snapshot on what's going on within Connections. Another big thing that's been happening in Connections is our guest services. We shifted from kind of a perpetual group, as in we had 3 groups. I've got a hair in my mouth again. I think I got to get rid of the beard. That's the problem. Guest services. So we had a major shift, right, where we had kind of just 3 groups of guest services people, and we kind of had the same people showing up, and they were faithful, and they were diligent, and they loved serving in guest services. And then we just thought we could do better than that. We thought we could serve them better than that. So Kevin had some fantastic ideas about how to do this, and so we've moved from 3 separate guest services ministries, 3 separate teams, which is actually one huge team, one big group, into 6 separate individual groups with 25 people serving on an every other week rotation for a semester. And so the way that broke down is that we had about 120 people or so that were in guest services before. Our new number of people is 130, and 73 of them, or 56%, are people who are not previously serving in guest services, which means that we've had new people come in. People have gotten to take a much-needed, much-deserved break, an opportunity to take a Sabbath from serving. We anticipate that they'll join us back in, and that guest services will be a richer, fuller experience because of it. And hopefully you've experienced that on Sunday morning as people come in. We really are passionate and feeling pretty excited about how guest service is operating on a normal week-to-week basis, and we're excited to see that continue to grow and continue to flourish under Kevin's leadership. One more thing for Connections is this idea of Servanthood 101. We've done plugged-in events before, which is how we kind of connect people into serving, and we kind of hit a cap there as far as being able to get people connected in, so we started rethinking, hey, how could we do this differently? And so guest services is going to serve as a vehicle that we're calling Servanthood 101. We're going to use it to let people say, hey, if you're new to the church, want to figure out where you can serve, how you can serve, what it means to serve in your local church, then come to Servanthood 101. You'll get the opportunity to serve in guest services for 1 semester, and then our hope is at the end of that semester to go through our shape profile with them, to go through some personal one-on-one conversations, and then to be able to turn them over to the ministry that best fits them at the Ransom Church. So if you're new to the church and you're going, hey, I'm supposed to worship free, live free, serve free, how do I get involved in serve free? We're hoping to say you should jump into Servanthood 101, have them go through 1 semester serving with guest services where they learn, hey, I'm really wired to serve in kids ministry, or I'm really wired to serve in pastoral care ministries, or I'm really wired to serve in loop ministries, or wherever that's going to end up being. And then we'll be able to turn them over to those key ministry directors and say, hey, so-and-so's been through Servanthood 101. They know what it means to be a servant of Christ first and foremost. They know what it means to be a servant at the Ransom, and they're excited to join your ministry area. So that's coming for guest services, coming for Connections in the fall, and we're really excited about that. Again, Kevin oversees all of those Connections experiences, and he's doing a fantastic job there, and just love having him being a part of the team. Last but certainly not least is life groups. I largely am the one overseeing this. It's my face on the screen for those of you who are in R3. I'm actually missing my R3 group tonight to be here, which is a major bummer. But I'll just say hi to you guys because I know that you'll all watch this video since you're doing life group tonight and you're committed to doing that. So life groups, we say, are community discipleship, opportunities to be discipled, right? We're growing in Christ and we're doing it as a community of believers together. A disciple at the Ransom Church is one who can recognize and respond to the voice of God in their life and who teaches others to do the same. So this semester, this spring semester, we have 781 people signed up for life groups. That's 59% of our average weekly attendance for that same period when you factor out things like online attendance and Loop and people who can't actually make it to a life group. So we've about 60%. Our goal is 80%. So we're looking to increase the people who sign up. Our average attendance is 504. So that's 65% of people signed up. We have 48 life groups. 7 of them are in Harrisburg. 7 of them are Ransom teens. Live to Serve event is coming up this Saturday. You're all signed up and enthusiastic about it and have no idea where you're serving, which is exciting for me. We're going to have some fun with that this Saturday, give people an opportunity to serve, and we're anticipating 300 plus people, probably going to be right around 400. Obviously, we changed the name to Live to Serve because we got too big for Love Sioux Falls, and that's a really exciting thing. Another church actually in town was doing an event called Love Sioux Falls, and so we got to graciously just have a conversation and let them run with that name. I don't know whether or not we had a website, Love Sioux Falls. I don't know whether we transferred it to them or not, but we willingly moved to a new event name because we're serving in multiple communities. We serve in Mitchell, we're serving in Hartford, we're talking about serving in Brandon, we're serving in Sioux Falls, and we're serving in Harrisburg all this year with some other room to grow there. And as the multi-site campuses continue to move, we just need a name that's big enough to grow with us. So that's where Live to Serve came from, and we're excited to celebrate that. So just some goals for the upcoming semester as far as life groups are concerned. What you can expect to see this summer is we'll do summer school again. Phil Wiseman is teaching how to read the Bible again because we had such a fantastic turnout last time around, and Pastor Wayne is going to be teaching how to share Jesus without fear this summer during July. We're excited about both of those opportunities. In the fall, you're going to see us look to get to 80% of 80% of physical campus locations in a life group. My goal to do that is to double our life groups. So if you are currently in a life group, know that my goal is to recruit you to be a leader and to double our number of life groups. Again, I said we have 48 life groups. I'd like to see us at 100 by this time next year. I think that's possible. I think that God has already equipped us. I think that we have so many fantastic leaders leading in our life group and our life groups that we're going to get there, and that enables us to get smaller. Life groups, in order to get bigger, we have to get smaller. We have to have more intimate relationships, more depth of relationships, more opportunity to talk about the things that really matter in our faith life, that really matter as God leads us through, and enable us to make some of the transitions and changes that God's calling us to make as a church. So looking for more groups, smaller size, and I'm going to need some help accomplishing those goals, both from my life group leaders, and we're also talking about hiring a life group coach, somebody who can come alongside life group leaders, equip them, pastor them, and enable them to really do a better job caring for those people and move them along the path, equipping them to be the best life group leaders that they can be, and that will equip me to continue focusing my time on what we're doing here as a department and also on teaching, obviously, as R3s and sermon-based life groups are critical to how we move forward. We have opportunities to invest more in those resources and invest more as far as how we move people along in that discipleship journey. So we've got some other discipleship environments that we're talking about, but nothing at this time that's set in stone, but moving forward. But just know that that's where we're at as spiritual formation, connecting people from the parking lot all the way into deeper levels of faith as we grow in Christ together. And I'm just excited and privileged to be a part of that journey. Thank you for asking me to serve in this capacity, and it's my honor to serve and to be over this department. So that's what I've got for spiritual formation, and I'm going to turn it over to, is it Jason? Is that right? There you are. Come on up, Jay.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Pastor Jason, and I'm the pastoral care pastor. And everybody keeps talking about the Loop, and I wanted to share with you. Loop stands for Loving on Our People. And we serve the Ransom Church in the following areas of hospital visitation, nursing homes, prison ministries, funerals, and weddings. Our pastoral care is very outward focused. We believe that as a church, there are people in our community that really need to be adopted. In the hospital ministry, and I just want to share about some of the leaders. I don't have a lot of part-time workers or staff. We just have an incredible number of volunteer leaders that have come on board, and Audra Eide is one of them. She's not here tonight, but she really leads our hospital visitation team, and under her leadership, we must have like a team of 15 people that show up at the hospital when somebody's either had a baby or sick. They send out flowers or candy if you're an attender here. Probably one of the coolest things that we do, and I know Melody's here. Melody, where are you? All right, Melody Chrisman, she actually heads up the part of making prayer blankets. She coordinates them being made. She makes sure that the team prays over those blankets, and they bring them to whoever's at the hospital. And you don't have to be an attender here. We will literally go and visit family, friends, it doesn't matter. I know Phil was teasing about the llamas. We haven't had a llama blanket yet, have we, Melody? All right, could you help on that? I'd love to bring one. Okay, awesome. I could share stories with you, but I want to read a text that I just recently received, and I actually asked their permission if I could tell the story. I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the hospital ministry. My dad hasn't gone to church since I was in middle school. And because of the hospital ministry, someone came to see him almost every day while he was in the hospital. He was there over 50 days, and he told me that because of the people that came to visit him and the love that they showed him is why he came to church today. And that was actually this morning. I can't tell you how amazing it is to see my dad in church today singing along with worship and taking notes during the sermon. It's a huge blessing and actually a huge answer to prayer. I'm so proud to call the Ransom Church my family. I could tell you stories every day that's happened because of the hospital ministry team. But I'm going to move on to marriage mentors. We have John and Kyla Briney, and Kyla is one of our elders, but her and her husband, they provide marriage mentoring for all the couples that are wishing to get married. Especially if they want a God-centered marriage, what we do, our goal is to provide them with a couple that has a solid marriage and then support them with the church. We do this by assigning a couple that has that background, and they're with them before and even after their wedding. If you're interested in getting married, you can actually fill out a form that you'll find on our website at theransomchurch.org on the contact page. And just so you guys know, because we're going to Saturday services, we're probably not going to do a lot of weddings here at the church. Right now, it's just not possible with the type of schedule we've got with 4 services going on and potentially 5. So what we're encouraging you to do is to find an outside location outside of the church, and we'll help you get a pastor to come and do your wedding. Our next area is the prison ministry, and that's led by Glenn Stanley. Last year, at the last Congregational round meeting, we talked about the launch of services at the county jail, and we talked about how our lay shepherds would go inside the walls and lead worship services. They actually bring them a hub. They'll write down their prayer requests, and we had, back then, over 15 people make a first-time commitment to Christ. I want to give you the update. Our ministry leads there are Steve and Jeanette Bellman, and here's the update. Currently, we're reaching 45 people each week with over 200 that have made a first-time commitment since we got started. We share with each person at the county jail that not only do we want them to come to the Ransom when they get out, but that we want to bring you into our family. We want you to feel like this can be your home. Our hope right now, and probably our biggest need for the prison ministry, is that we would love to get another 10 to 15 people where we can provide more worship services. Because right now, we only reach about a third of the county jail. You know, the most incredible thing that's going on at the county jail is the letters that Steve and Jeanette both get. I mean, how we've already touched lives there, where they've already started coming to the church and saying that this is my home. I've heard incredible stories already, but one of the most interesting things is somebody from the prayer team came up to me And they shared this. They said the most important prayers, the prayers they covet reading the most, are the ones that are made by the inmates at the county jail. And the reason why is because they're so raw. They're so broken and so hurt, and it's here where they get loved on. Our last is what we call our Friends team, and our Friends team basically goes to the nursing homes, and they visit people, one-on-ones, and they connect with people. But the cool part is we also offer worship service. Every Sunday, we're bringing worship to people who can't come to church. And so far, right now, believe it or not, we actually have 10 locations altogether. 3 of them are in nursing homes, 4 at assisted livings, the county jail, of course, and the Glory House. And probably one of my favorites is the JDC. Damian Cardis is one of our ministry students, and he actually goes there every week and has a team of about 3 people. And I promise you, sometimes that is the very first time, not only are they hearing about the Ransom Church, but it's the first time these kids are actually hearing about Jesus. In total, the Loop actually has about 200 people coming to church on any given Sunday. We just love what's going on here, because it's our opportunity to adopt people into our family and to live out these core values that we keep talking about, where we live free of sin, we worship free of inhibition, and we serve free of self. I just want to thank you and each and every one of you for not only taking the time to be here, but for allowing me to serve. And now, the best part of the evening, the guy who's the funniest guy in the room, Pastor Cody's going to come up, because all the kids love him better than me.
All right, well, good evening. As Jason said, my name is Cody Toops, and I am the student ministries pastor here at the Ransom. And tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. If you know me, you know I'm an extreme type A. I love data. I love spreadsheets. And tonight, there's going to be very little data, and it's going to be stories. Stories of what God is doing in and among our students, whether that's elementary age, middle school, high school. Stories about how great our God is and how awesome our volunteers are. And as you've already kind of heard and it's been alluded to, our student ministries area or arena is growing like crazy. And as a result, we've had to expand our staff to be able to accommodate that. And so the first thing is I just want to let you guys know about a couple things with our staff is that we have hired a Ransom Kids director, Natalie Wiseman, and she will be starting in April, and her role will be to oversee the kids' ministry of the Ransom Church, to provide some assistance there and to help with classroom management and curriculum and recruiting and training and developing of leaders and volunteers and everything that goes along with that. As well as a gal by the name of Claire Knoll has come aboard as a student ministries admin assistant. So Claire is here to help with Ransom Kids stuff, with Ransom Teen stuff, and with our residency program. She's there 15 hours a week, and she helps out with all of that. But let me say, it's Claire and Natalie, and even more so, it's our hundreds of volunteers that help with kids ministry, that help with teens, that makes it so successful. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to those of you in the room. For those of you that are watching, thank you so much. And for those of you that aren't serving anywhere right now, it's a great place to come and learn to serve. And if you kids aren't for you, you know what prayer probably is. Would you pray for us? Would you pray for our students? So with that said, let me share some stories with you guys. These first 2 come out of Ransom Kids. The first story is I heard from a parent. They came up to me and they shared this story, and it goes like this. This young boy who is a 3rd grader goes to school every Monday, and so, of course, after being in Ransom Kids, and they go to parent-teacher conferences, and they get done with the conference, everything went well, and the parents are leaving, and the teacher stops them down the hallway and says, wait a minute, can I ask you one thing? And they're like, sure, what's going on? And the teacher says, you know, I don't know about this church thing, and I don't know where you go, but wherever it is, you must be doing something right. And the parents said, okay, well, why do you say that? And this male teacher said, your son comes into the classroom every single Monday, and he shares something from the Bible of what he had learned with everybody in the class. He said, I've learned more from your son, of him being in my class, than I ever have of when I went to church. And that's because of our volunteers, of what they are doing, investing in to the next generation. The second story comes, and it involves a fourth grader. And here's a fourth grade boy who's going to his school, and he's talking with one of his friends in the playground, and his friend is a third grader. And his friend tells him, he says, I don't want to go home tonight. And so he said, well, why? And he said, I lost my Pokemon cards that I took to school, and my dad's going to whoop me. And this kid looks at him, and his heart breaks. And so the story goes on, and we find out that the older kid goes to his classroom, gets his backpack out. He brought his football cards to school. He goes and trades all of his football cards away to get those Pokemon cards, and then gives them to this boy. And he said it's because he's been learning about we need to love others more than ourselves. That is because of Ransom Kids and what God is doing and our amazing volunteers. Give you just a little bit of data. Since the first of the year, Ransom Kids at the downtown campus, we've been averaging almost 153 students. And over the last month, it's been over 160. It's the little students that we get the opportunity to invest in. And at Harrisburg campus, I love this. Wayne alluded to it a little bit. So from May 1, which is the beginning of our fiscal year, until now, which is approximately 47 weeks, they've averaged a little over 27 kids in the ministry at the Harrisburg campus. But listen to this. I love this. Over the last month, they've averaged almost 48 students in the Harrisburg campus. That is incredible of what is taking place. And so that's just a little bit about Ransom Kids. Now let me switch gears and tell you a little bit about Ransom Teens. You may or may not know we do youth ministry a little bit different. Ransom Teens is compiled of two major components. The first one is what we call life groups. Because that's such a big deal, we believe in, as Will said, community discipleship. We want that for our kids. We fully believe that our teens shouldn't be learning, shouldn't be doing something different than us as adults. We are all the body, and we should be doing the same thing. And so with our Ransom Teens, we've been averaging approximately 75 students in life groups scattered across the city since January. And the second component is we get together once a month in this room we're sitting in right here in the warehouse from the Harrisburg life groups and the Brandon life groups and Sioux Falls life groups, and the teens come together for a rally. And this is a teen-led youth event. And so we have a teen worship band that's up here that leads their pairs in worship. We have a student leadership team that chooses the direction and the trajectory that we're going, and we do that once a month. And we're averaging just over 85 students at that event as well. And so it's really cool to see what God is doing. We have a group of adults and students that are getting ready to head to our mission trip in June, and we're going to Ponce, Puerto Rico, and there's 39 students and adults that have said, I will spend the next 6 months in discipleship training. I will spend the next 6 months committed to meeting as a group and to fundraising because God has called me to go. And so we've been learning as adults, we've been talking as students about what does it mean to be a disciple of Christ. That means to recognize the voice of God. That means to respond and to teach others to do the same. And we're seeing that in this mission trip process with our students. So what I want to share with you is I want to share a few stories here on the video. These are 3 students from Ransom Teens, 2 high schoolers, and 1 middle school student. Check out how God has been working in their life.
My name is Molly Briney, and the reason I started coming to Ransom Teens was because I wanted to grow deeper in my relationship with God. So when we were at the Life Rally, Cody was talking about gifts and talents, and the whole time I was like, oh, well, I don't really have any gifts, I was kind of beating myself up about it, and then he said, if you don't feel like you have any gifts or talents, go talk to your life group leader and they'll chat with you, and he was sure we had some gifts. So I went out and I was talking with Angel and we set up a coffee date, and then I go home, and right when I get home my mom calls me and she goes, Molly, did you know there's a little boy that's deaf in the discovery room? And I was like, no, I had no idea. So then she had told one of the workers in that room that I knew sign language. So then I called Cody and asked him if that was true and if I could start working. And then the next week I was in the room and I got to interpret sign language for him. So in the last semester of being at Ransom Teens, I've learned to be more aware of the kairos moments, to hear the voice of God and then to react to them. It's been fun to see the whole thing play out and see how God showed me, like on the night that I was feeling like I had no gifts, that he had something totally different in mind, and then it all came together perfect. My name is Molly Brenny and I am a Ransom teen.
So the series Boiling Point really was pulling on my heart. One of the verses was, "For I know your deeds, that you are neither hot nor cold. I wish you were one or the other, but since you're like lukewarm water, neither hot nor cold, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth." I was holding on to things like popularity, friends, relationships, different titles. Through Ransom Teens, I've really found solid relationships with friends, and I've met really awesome adult leaders who I feel like I can tell them stuff that's going on in my life, and I'm really comfortable talking to them. I feel like they're my big brothers and sisters, so it's really awesome to see what Ransom Teens can do. My name is Ellie, and I'm a Ransom Teen.
My name is Samuel Patrick. I am a senior in high school. This year I'm going to graduate. I grew up 2 loving parents, 4 siblings, 3 brothers, 1 sister. We come from the Golden State. I come from a spoiled life. I never went without, but I grew up knowing Jesus. I knew he was a cool guy, loving, and I always knew he would be there for you, but never fully understood. So it started out with being influenced with rap music, more material-wise, focused on money, experimenting with alcohol and drugs, and even some inappropriate relationships outside of marriage. Just really focused on worldly desires. And as I'm going through this, I see my dad shift, leaving a secular life, abandoning world values, and we get this idea that we're moving to South Dakota. So as we moved to South Dakota, a little confused, but also excited, all these emotions coming in, but I could just feel God's presence. It's like God led the way, but I still struggled with my own desires. And then I started to attend the Ransom Church, saved, baptized, but still trying to figure out my walk. And then that's when I came to the conclusion of entering the last days of being a hypocrite. There was a black and white moment talking with my mom and dad about boy-girl relations. I wanted to represent Jesus Christ in all areas of my life. So in order to do that, I had to surrender. I still make mistakes and I still struggle, but my walk with Christ is now the priority. And I know with him, I have a purpose in his service. My name is Samuel Patrick, and I am a Ransom teen.
It was so hard for me to choose what stories to share because there's so many. God and the Holy Spirit is moving amongst our teens in this city, in the Ransom Church, and it is so exciting to be a part of it. And so please continue to pray for these young people, these young men and women, as God continues to mold and shape and transform them into who he's called them to be. It is just absolutely amazing to hear those stories. Lastly, one of my responsibilities is to oversee the residency program. And for some of you might be asking, what is a residency program? What does that look like? Think about this. When someone graduates with a degree to be a doctor and they've done all of their schooling, they don't just walk into Avera and say, hey, where's the scalpel? Let me do surgery, right? They don't just let them do that. They have to go into a teaching hospital and they have to learn and get hands-on experience to accompany the educational experience that they've had. And the same is true in ministry. A lot of times, people will graduate with a ministry degree and they're at the church, and next thing they know, let's take youth ministry for example, the youth pastor's there, they've been there 6 months, and a parent comes and says, my child just died in a car accident. It takes you back. You're not for sure what exactly to do. You've read about it in theory, but here is the real life. Here is the real world situation. And so we are a teaching church for young men and women who are called to be pastors, where they come and they spend 2 years with us, and we walk them through a journey over the course of 2 years to round them out as best we can to be the best they can be for the kingdom. And so they come in and they learn how to do ministry here at the Ransom. And so we have 3 residents with us. You've met them already. I want to talk a little bit about what each of them have really been working on the last couple months. And we're going to breeze through these because most of them have been talked about. Ben, who is our worship resident, he has been leading in Harrisburg for the last 3 months. So that means that he has had the opportunity to develop and lead a team to work directly with our campus pastor, Pastor Wayne, on supporting the vision and the direction and everything that takes place there. And Ben will be rotating out and learning the tech side of things. Emily Lumpkin, she is our pastor in our spiritual formations department, resident pastor. And Emily's had the opportunity, you've seen her on the R3 if you've been doing those videos. She's had an opportunity to write and produce that. She is what we call a GSA, a guest service assistant. So she helps out there, learning the roles of what do we do with our people, how do we lead people, how do we invite people into the church. And she's played a huge part in the Restore ministry as well. And lastly, right over here is Cody Engel. He's our student ministries resident. I'm a little partial to him. He is doing a phenomenal job in our youth department. Some of these stories that you've heard and seen are directly because of this young man's influence, because he is doing great things for the kingdom. And so Cody we just got back this afternoon from our retreat in which Cody planned from head to toe. He marketed, planned, budgeted, recruited. He did everything, and it was an incredible success. Cody has actually been making about 3/4 of the decisions for the youth group for this semester, as in curriculum and where are we going and how are things going. And he's really progressing well in this path to be resident. As you heard, Emily she decided to get married, and so she will be leaving us in April. But starting June 1st, we will have some additional residents that will be coming on board as well. So you'll start to see some new faces around as we continue to have the opportunity to invest into young men and women. So with that said, I need your help, though. This is a plea from me. These new young men and women that come in and our existing residents, they stay in host homes. We're looking for families that are willing to adopt them as their own, and to love on them and encourage them, because they're going to be away from home and it's the first real job and all of that. And so if that's you, if you have a gift of hospitality, if you have a spare bedroom in your house and you'd be willing to do that, would you come see me? Finally, I want to end with this. This is the heartbeat for all of our student ministries. This is the heartbeat for us as a department. And this comes out of Psalm 24 from David. And it says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell within it. For he has founded it upon the seas and established it upon the rivers. Whom shall ascend the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear. He will receive blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Such is a generation of those who seek him, who seek the face of God." And that is our desire, is to raise up a generation that has a pure heart, that doesn't lift their soul up to another, and that seeks the face of God. How do we do that? We're teaching our students to worship free, to live free, and to serve free.